I've heard a handful of people complaining about bad teammates, whether it be sabotage or just shoddy workmanship. To that I say, if you want something done right, you had better go and do it yourself. Here's your little crash course on solo missions so you don't need to get all moody and toxic with people you don't even know on the internet. In the case that you think this won't do much for you as a team player, it's also a video on how to be completely self-reliant, which means you can support your teammates even better than you otherwise would. For starters, make sure you're wearing the correct armor. I always prefer anything medic grade so I can get extra stims. If you're attempting stealth, which I would advise, you can also jump for one that lowers your detection radius. Next part is likely the most important part of this entire ordeal. Do not lie to yourself. Pick the correct difficulty. And if you think, well, I'll never be able to get above hard because they don't tune down the enemies whatsoever, I've been doing solo hell dives all week. You can do it too. I'm not that smart. Now your automaton missions are going to be preferred. That's due to how they move. You're likely getting mobbed at some point regardless. It's preferential to at least take the ones that walk up to you somewhat slow and structured instead of just mobbing on top of you. Make sure you check location modifiers on planets as well. Low visibility is going to be beneficial to you. Things like cold or heat are going to be detrimental. You're going to want to stay away from those. As of right now, Dropner seems to be the go-to planet if you want ideal conditions for not getting spotted easily. And now maybe I should have put this portion up by the armor section, but guns. As far as guns are concerned, you need to pick match-appropriate weapons that complement your playstyle. You need to make sure you have something that can deal with every situation. I'm talking a swarm of enemies to heavily armored targets. Get the primary of your choice, but you're gonna want something like an anti-material rifle, recoilless rifle, autocannon, railgun, anything that can crack heavy armor. That's your ideal support weaponry. Do not worry about ammo consumption. Every resupply is solely dedicated to you when you're playing solo, so you never really have to worry about running out. However, just because you have a lot of bullets doesn't mean you shouldn't pay attention to where you're shooting. Your goal should be hit weak points on these robots. If they're the little guys, hit them in the head, naturally. If they're the heavies, once again hit them in the head. It's going to be a little harder, they're a little more durable. If they're the walkers, you can either pick the guy off the back or take some sort of heavy weaponry to the hip joints to take them out. If they are a Hulk, you hit them in that glowing red eye with some sort of armor-piercing round, or you mag dump into their backs. But that's kind of dicey because you have to be a little closer to do that. If they are a tank, just airstrike the damn thing and don't waste your time. That brings me to my next point of having some sort of large-scale explosive stratagem to glass compounds in a rush. I carry my 500 kilogram bomb, airstrike, and orbital laser into every game I go in. There is not a clanker in the world those will fail to eliminate. Once you're finally on world, take things low and slow. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. But when you engage a patrol, try to kill them as quickly as possible so they can't call for reinforcements. If you see any of them raise their hands straight up in the air, you're going to want to at least shoot that thing and stagger it because they are attempting to call enemies. The only things, however, that will call enemies are the basic grunts. It is more important to act decisively than ever because handling enemy reinforcements are a much bigger chunk of your time than they would have been before. If you happen to be located, approach fights incrementally. Try to spread forces thin or funnel them into corridors that you can shoot into indiscriminately. Pick a large, suitable cover that you can maneuver around, then take them out as they approach you until you have enough breathing room to move upon them. Remember, you do not need to be out in the open to shoot, nor should you be. Hang behind cover, use your peripheral vision to base your next shot, then quickly break cover, hit your shot, and drop back into it. When engaging a compound, here are the steps you will go through. Observe the most important parts or tactical assets of the outpost while you approach it. Your goal is to take these out first and foremost. These targets include laser cannons, mortars, anti-air guns, any sort of signal jammers, scanners, and reinforcement factories. Destroying reinforcement factories takes priority. So do those scanner towers that look like the Eye of Sauron. That's because they call in constant reinforcements. Understand, you're not going to get every last objective every time because you are now short-staffed. You no longer have the option to split up and take out multiple targets at once. Prioritize key objectives and take out what is convenient along the way. If you manage time well, you'll be able to complete all main and side objectives of most missions, but likely forego clearing all outposts. You have complete control over where the match ends up, but you have no backup or someone to bail you out if you get in trouble, so keep that in mind when you're engaging. If the heat is too heavy and you're low on resources, it's time to cut and run, my friend. You can circle back later, but break away and create some space for yourself. You don't have a great deal of second chances as a solo, so don't waste them. You need to be more cautious now. If you do happen to find yourself in a reinforcement pod, for the love of God, don't drop into the middle of the enemies. Hopefully you pace yourself well and chose the correct difficulty so that you'll have your support weapon stratagem ready again. If you find yourself to constantly be on the back foot, maybe it's time to reduce your difficulty settings. Don't worry, you are perfectly capable of doing Helldiver difficulty eventually. It's simply a matter of practice. While still touching on the topic of stratagems and resource scarcity, I advise you to use your air support and orbital stratagems sparingly. You have the capability to take down any clanker with your standard and support weaponry. Therefore, save the heavier payloads for expeditiously destroying those tactical constructs and things like tanks that I mentioned earlier. Minor things to pay attention to would be minimizing redundant movement paths. What I mean by this is not retracing your steps too much. Best case scenario, you land opposite your main objective on the map and it's near extraction, so you only have to make one pass through the map. But since life never works out the way we intend it to, your best bet is probably dropping in a low enemy area and working your way from minor to major objectives. You position yourself based upon objectives, not extraction. When it comes to extracting, as I have said in the past, try to be quieter than a mouse pissing on cotton, especially because as a solo, you will be running that clock near empty just about every time. And when the clock is on empty, no more reinforcements, no more retries. The higher the difficulty, the more you're inclined to believe in a higher power when it comes to extraction time. If you're about to get found, and you still have a brief moment to call down some sort of orbital onslaught, it's only 2 minutes. That's the operative time to exhaust all available stratagems and pour down some hate from on high. I'll walk you through a fast summary of the steps if you felt lost anywhere in there. Buy some proper armor, preferably medic grade. Have a gun to kill the masses and a gun to kill the big ones. Check your field conditions such as weather and world modifiers. Land with minimal enemies in somewhere you can rotate through your objectives. Stay low and maintain stealth, but go apeshit as soon as you're seen. Eliminate targets of convenience and necessity while focusing on primary objectives. Don't fall into the trap of completing every last detail. Once you are done with the main mission, complete your little objectives using spare time. Head to extract with 5 minutes remaining. It factors in time for complications. Be quiet at extract until it's time to go to Scorched Earth. Once you've extracted, get some water. It's important to stay hydrated. Hopefully this was able to direct you in some kind of way when it comes to staying alive in these missions when you've got only yourself to rely on. Thank you for watching, and best of luck in those next dives. If you've got any questions, concerns, or suggestions, feel free to throw them out respectfully in the comments, or do it disrespectfully. I can't tell you what to do, I'm not your dad. In any case, I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good night.